All your gauges, coming this time, pull the belts real good.
Green flag.
Green flag.
10-4, bud. We'll get you fixed up here when we get a caution. Got a spin here on the front.
Go, buddy. That was a good one right there.
I need crash any minute. High there. Car up high there. Something definitely wrong with this car. Just settle down and relax.
We're glad you're watching with us. NASCAR on Fox from Las Vegas. The red flag is out with 4 to go. Carl Edwards, who's led the most laps, trying to win back-to-back races. Currently your leader as you got to look at the top 10. Jeff Gordon said in the pre-race that his car was finicky. Now it's finished for the day, Jeff Hammond. And I guess along with Dale Earnhardt Jr., it appeared that Matt Kenseth, they were trying to lay back just a little bit with Edwards in that restart.
Yeah, it looked like everybody was trying to do a restart basically from Daytona. Everybody laying back a little bit, trying to get a run on one another. And unfortunately, in the 88 car, he didn't go like he needed to. Dale Jr. spun his rear tires, and all of a sudden he got split by the 24 and the 17. And next thing you know, when they came together off of turn 2, well, guess what? The end result was not very good.
And Kurt Busch, we believe, okay. Jeff Gordon, okay. 11 cautions, which is a track record. And those 2 hard hits that we saw recently. And Jeff, wasn't it Clint Boyer in yesterday's practice session also went into that little opening in the track?
As Darrell said, you know, you don't need to have those kind of things around a racetrack because these race cars will go where you never dreamed they could go. And we already saw very quickly that when Jeff Gordon got inside that back wall, all of the front radiator, I mean, just everything exploded like it did. And if he had not been hitting it glancing blow like that, it could have been very detrimental maybe to Jeff Gordon, because I mean that's not what you want to see with a race car hitting a wall head on, Chris.
And earlier, Tony Stewart, a 2-time NASCAR champ, out of the race on lap 109, hitting the wall as well. So with Carl Edwards, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick, and Jeff Burton, that's your top 5 as we stand under red with 4 to go.
Under red right there, we see right there Carl Edwards sitting beside the pace car, believe it or not. He's not been stopped for a citation or anything for all the violations he's had today.
There's been a lot of violations for a lot of people today, but certainly not Carl Edwards. So let's check in with Tony Uri Jr., who is with our Krista Voda. Krista?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, down here on the 88 pit box, Tony Uri Jr., the crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr., talking to his boss, Rick Hendrick, deciding what's going on, what happened on that restart, and then also what's going to happen here, obviously in Vegas. Everything's a gamble, so we want to know, Tony Jr., what's going to happen on this restart? Does your driver have anything for that? Does the 88 double 8s have anything for the double 9s? So you're kind of rolling the dice.
We'll see. I mean, that's the cars are pretty equal. I think we got a little bit better car on the long run. So, we'll see. We're just having trouble hooking up on the restarts, spinning the tires and that sort of stuff. So we're give it our best shot. I mean, Dale Jr.'s the one I'd want behind my wheel, so I think he can make it happen. So does that mean you have to be conservative at all on this restart, or is there any such thing? There ain't no such thing. I mean, at this time in the race, you just got to let it all, throw it up on the table, and what happens, what happens. So, that's basically what they did on the last restart. So, everybody's wanting to be in this position, and we're here. So, we're excited and proud of all the guys for all day's work. All right, they're telling the dealer, hit me down here, Dick Berggren.
Yeah, I'm with Bob Osborne, who is Carl Edwards' crew chief. Well, you survived the last restart. How about this one? How's the game going to be played?
Well, I hope we survive it just as well. That's the plan for sure. The 88 didn't really get the greatest of restarts, and it let us get out in a little bit of a lead there, and it kind of bottled everybody up and got a little congestion there and caused the accident. But you'll have that big-time auto racing.
Is he fast enough, or does he have to protect the outside for fear that somebody's going to come by and get him?
Well, on the restart,
yes,
we're just doing that for precaution. You never know what happens. You could slip up just a touch, and somebody gets to the outside of you, and then you get into the situation we just had. So we're trying to keep that from happening, taking every precaution we can to make sure we get victory here.
And your driver knows how to play this game for sure. Chris Myers.
All right, thanks, Dick. And don't forget the Simpsons coming up next, except for those of you watching on the West Coast.
Very unique trophy right there. It doesn't get really a trophy like we're normally seeing. They get a championship belt if you're able to win here in Las Vegas. And
looks like a lot of Vegas bling.
It does, a lot of Vegas bling right there. One thing we want to point out, you see the 17 car sitting there on the racetrack. He is still on the lead lap. He is not. He lost a bunch of positions. He's dropped all the way back to 16th right now, but he's not out of this thing yet.
Jeff, listening to the crew chief, and you can use a Vegas term, all in at this point, but does Carl Edwards have an advantage with his teammate Greg Biffle, currently third, in between Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
Well, he's definitely got Dale Earnhardt Jr. kind of like between a rock and a hard place, but Dale Jr. knows that Greg Biffle is going to race him clean, and the main thing he needs to do is just get a clean restart so he can get up there and put some pressure on that number 99 car. And Carl's got to be careful of not doing the same thing. If he happens to spin his tires, he'll just give it right over to Dale Jr., and then Jr. will be off to the races races for himself. So this thing's a long way from being over. And I want to point out something else. There's 2 RCR cars sitting back there. They're basically they're waiting for somebody to make a mistake, and they're going to just basically swoop in there. That man, Jeff Burton, he ran second here a year ago, so he knows how to win here. He knows how to get the job done. So I wouldn't count either one of those RCR cars out yet either.
Jeff Burton has won twice here in Las Vegas. Kevin Harvick hasn't had a top 5 finish in quite some while, currently 4th. So where's the dividing line with just 4 laps to go then? Is it the top 5 as far as ruling out anybody who has a real shot? What
we've already seen is the guys that were running 1, 2, and 3, they got all bottled up and wrecked each other. So no, I wouldn't count anybody else in the top 10, because if Carl Edwards spins his tires and Dale Jr. gets in the back of him and all of a sudden Greg Biffle runs in the back of them, you never know what's going to happen. This could trigger one of the biggest wrecks we've ever seen in Las Vegas. And on top of all that, we've already had a record number 11 caution. So it's pretty much, it's wide open.
And if this played out the way we stand, Carl Edwards would lead, and it would be the first time in his career that he would be the points leader, and it would be the 3rd straight week that we've had someone lead for the first time in their career. Kyle Busch coming in, and after week 1, of course, Daytona 500 winner Ryan Newman.
Well, we talked about 2008 being kind of like a year of surprises, and I think so far it hasn't let us down with Ryan Newman winning at Daytona. Carl coming back there like he did at California. And again, if he can win 2 in a row, I mean, that would be so impressive. But the cat in the hat, he has had a lot of winners here at Las Vegas, so he knows how to put together the right kind of engine combination with the right kind of aero package to get to victory lane.
Adjusting his hat on cue. So it looks like a Ford Chevy here. At least that's who has the top 5. And there are no Toyotas. Well, actually, Denny Hamlin just snuck in at the 10th spot. And yet Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart had some pretty good runs earlier in this race.
They look very, very strong. Well, let's give old Denny Hamlin a little bit of love there, because he was down a lap early on, struggled. They kept battling their way all the way back up to where they're running in the top 10. And, they need to kind of turn this season around, because they have struggled early in the first 2 races. So it's good to see him back up there getting the job done. And the guy that also we got to give a little bit of holler at, Elliott Sadler, got caught speeding off of pit road, not into pit road, but off of pit road in this 19 car early on. He battled all day long, finally got his lap back, and he is now back up there just outside the top 10. So a good, I guess you might say, effort not only by Casey Kane, which is his teammate from Gillette Everham, but also Elliott Sadler, because remember, I picked him kind of as a long shot.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon's car being hauled away, and I mean,
totally destroyed, I might add.
With all the things you talked about, you and Darrell in the pre-race show, and Larry talked about wind and debris, and the pit road concerns, we've had a number of violations with pit road, whether it's been tires or being caught speeding.
Well, it's just that time of year. I mean, everything until you see the wind continues to blow here at Las Vegas. Fortunately, it hasn't been the big culprit that we anticipated. A lot of guys were a little bit more concerned about it, but we've had some ill-handling race cars, so we don't know for sure if we can hand all that off to the wind or not. But it has been a very unpredictable day. If you don't believe me, go ask Jimmy Johnson, who has struggled from the drop of the green flag. Yep. So it's been a really unpredictable day. We see Jimmy sitting there inside his car, probably trying to figure out, I wonder if they got a back door out of here. It's probably kind of embarrassing for him and Chad Canals to run like they're running, especially with Jeff, their teammate, up there contending for the win until this last accident. 2 laps down, Jimmy Johnson was going for his 4th straight win in Las Vegas. Who will win? The answer may be blowing in the wind, my friend. But next week, we move on to Atlanta, where Jimmy Johnson swept last year, right? Both races. Yep. You can hit speeds of up to 195 miles per hour. Our coverage Friday was Sprint Cup Series practice on speed, and then the qualifying, the Craftsman Truck Series. On Saturday, Nationwide Series qualifying on speed, followed by Sprint Cup Series practice. And Sunday, NASCAR Race Day on speed, and then the Cobalt Tools 500 on Fox, followed by NASCAR Victory Lane on speed. It's our coverage of NASCAR throughout the weekend across the Fox family of networks. So you mentioning wind, does that mean since we're going to Atlanta that we're going to be NASCAR's version of Gone with the Wind? Gone with the Wind, Tara, right. We'll visit Tara on the way. Let's visit the booth. Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip, and Mike Joy, guys.